If you had to go to a desert island and you could only take one thing with you, what would you take? A photo album, your computer, maybe some book that you liked. What could you not do without? And this is something that our parasha speaks about. In the terrible list of curses that will come upon the Jewish people for not following God's way, Moshe tells them that they will be taken out into the exile and they will serve their enemy there. They will not have food, they will not have drink, and they will be b'choser kol. They will lack everything. They will lack absolutely everything. And the question is, what was he referring to? If you don't have food and you don't have drink and you don't have clothing, well, what else is there to lack? And the Talmud gives a number of opinions. The first opinion says that what is meant by b'choser kol? You will be lacking everything. It means you will not have a table and a lantern. Another opinion says that this means you will be lacking a spouse. You won't have a wife or a husband. Another opinion says you will be lacking a servant to do all of your different chores. Yet another opinion says that you will be lacking daya, understanding, and Torah. And a final opinion says that you will be lacking melach urevav, which means salt, and a little bit of schmaltz, a little bit of fat. What is the meaning of this discussion? Why do these rabbis focus in on these particular things? That the curse of God is that you will be lacking not only food and clothing and something to drink, but you will be lacking these items. And because you'll be lacking these items, you will feel your suffering and persecution all the more so. Why is it that a human being cannot do without these items? And I'd like to suggest as follows. The first opinion says that it means we will be lacking a table and a lantern. This represents the Jewish home, the place where we gather together. A table is not just about the place where we eat, but we socialize there. We study words of Torah there. We sing there. We get together with our families. And of course, what accompanies this? The lantern. The lantern, especially on Shabbat, the wonderful glow of the Shabbat candles. And the table also brings to mind hachnasat orchim, hospitality. We bring in guests and perhaps poor people into our home. Rabbi Bachai, the great sage of Spain, tells us a beautiful custom that he heard of that the pious Jews of France would do. They would leave in their will that when they passed away, their family should take their dining room table and turn it into a coffin and bury them in their dining room table. Why? Because what they were saying was, when you die, you can't take anything with you. But what you can take with you are your good deeds. And many of those good deeds are done at your table by inviting guests. So the first aspect is a Jewish home, a Jewish focus of the home. And that's why you cannot do without a table and a lantern. Yet another opinion says that this refers to a wife, a spouse. You cannot do without a spouse. In other words, what is the core of Judaism? The family. The family is the most important thing. It's in the family unit that Judaism is nurtured. Yes, you can send a person to shul and to school, but it's within the home that the Jewish messages are put across. And if there's shalom bayit, if there's peace, and there is domestic harmony between husband and wife, that is the very best setting in which children should be raised. And that's why you cannot do without a spouse. Another opinion says that it refers to an eved, a servant. Well, we in South Africa can understand this because we all have domestic workers. And very often when South Africans move to other countries, they feel that lack. Their entire lives they had to have somebody to wash their dishes and wash their clothing and make their beds, and now they don't have that. But I think that something even more deep is implied over here. That eved refers to the aspect of hard work, of dedicated work, of working honestly for a living. If you don't have that, if you don't feel that you have a parnasah, a livelihood, and it doesn't matter what that livelihood might be, as long as it's honest and it brings home a salary at the end of the day, you feel that you have integrity. You feel that you have respect. If you don't have that, then you are b'choser kol. You are lacking everything. Another opinion says choser kol means you are lacking wisdom and Torah. You may have everything. You may have physical possessions and material possessions, but that's not enough to get a person through this world. As we learnt in the Torah in Parshat Eikev, Lo ala lechem levado yichyeh ha'adam. A person doesn't live by bread alone. He lives by what he gains from Hashem. That wisdom, that spiritual wisdom that we have in the Torah. You can have everything, but if you don't have a meaning and you're not fulfilled and you don't have Torah, you are lacking everything. And the final opinion says that if you don't have a little bit of salt and schmaltz, then you are choser kol. You are lacking everything. What does this opinion mean? And I'd like to suggest as follows. What it's referring to is the finer things in life. You can sit down to a meal, and it may be a nutritious meal, it may have protein, it may be good for you, but if it's not tasty, it's just not the same. It's the salt and the schmaltz that lend flavor to what you're eating. Yes, we as human beings, we shouldn't be people who are too extravagant, especially as Jews. We shouldn't be people who just want luxuries of life. But at the same time, Hashem gave them to us so that things would be palatable. We can't just eat food that looks drab and tastes drab. We want something to look nice. We're human beings. We like the arts, whether it's music, whether it's theater, whether it's cinema, something to spice up our lives a little bit. We may have everything, but we don't have those small luxuries in life. Our life is not worth anything. So the next time perhaps you think to yourself, what could I do without and what couldn't I do without? Consider these things. First of all, do you have a Jewish home, a table and a lantern? Do you have a spouse? Do you have that domestic harmony? Do you have a good job, a livelihood, so to speak, a slave? Do you have Torah wisdom? And lastly, do you have the finer things in life? I wish you a Shabbat Shalom.